doctor that proved that God is real using your eyes. You won't believe what he says at the end.
I came from China as an atheist. I believed nothing but science. I was studying the structural eye in med school, and I realized that the human eye is so complicated. Trillions of cells has to line up perfectly for visual signal capturing and interpretation. If any one of those cells gets out of line, the person will be born blind. Then how could so many cells form in such a short period of time? He opened a window in my life, making me realize that it was formed with a specific purpose, for vision. So there's a designer, a creator behind that.
Bro, God is real. You can't tell me nothing.
Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwatim. Listen, may the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick on Lord's will, as always, an edifying lesson. And in the beginning, I had played a video that I came across on YouTube, in regards to the human eye. And, this was information I didn't know. I just thought I would just share this. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting in the sense of how meticulous and how complex the ways of the Most High is. And it also kind of speaks as well to, the pride of this society and the pride of the people who rule, essentially in thinking that they can do away with the Most High and their ways are essentially best, right? And they're doing that through their technology. They're doing that through their society. They're essentially, and the way they live, right? They think that their ways are essentially above the Most High. As a matter of fact, I didn't have that anything written down, but I think I'll just get that, real quick. Just bear with me on this. 1 second. Okay, this is Isaiah 55, verse 8. And it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. As for the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts," right? So it's just the way the Most High has meticulously, constructed things, even down to something as simple as the human eye. And you might think about it because, our eyes, we use them, every single day, and we don't actually think about how meticulous it is to be able to actually, sit within, a body and the things that the body even does. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why the Lord really deserves, truly all the credit, for putting us such a, just even though we complain and we groan about the things that are in the flesh, we never really stop to think about how meticulous sometimes, how essentially, things are put together in nature, right? How animals, like, I was thinking about owls, and how owls have, they have very large eyes for a reason. The Lord didn't make those things without a purpose. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to read a couple things on this. It's not really, prophecy, but just essentially to kind of boast in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, to show that how powerful and magnificent a lot of his works are, So I just wanted to read this, real quick. I just thought I would, just share this with the body. Nothing too, heavy or anything like that, but just an understanding. And it kind of humbles you at the same time too, because it shows that, what we really know, when we departed from the Lord, what we knew was, it wasn't anything of substance at all, and it shows the mindset, of the society and how these people think, because they think that, them being the creation, they think they know, more than the Lord, right? They think they know more than, their creators, and a lot of that is also a pride thing because of who essentially is ruling this kingdom, because the scriptures talk about how the as our as the king, so are his officers, right? So just the way how the people who rule, you'll see that that same vibe, that same sentiment towards, shared by the officers. So the people who are lower down, even down to the politicians, even down to the regular people that you might meet, they have that same mindset because of the type of person who rules, right? So I just wanted to read this, real quick, here in just the AI overview here. And it says the human eye contains approximately 126 million light sensitive cells called photoreceptors in the retina that work together to create the images you see. So you have 126 million of these cells within your eyes that actually help you in your day-to-day with your vision. It says to see perfectly, meaning with high resolution. The color vision in daylight, the eye relies on a specific subset of cells, with the density of these cells determining the sharpness of your vision. So to be able to see things with crystal clear, you know, with crystal clarity, I should say, right? To be able to see the I guess the fine details, right? And I guess we're speaking this on we're speaking on this essentially on a carnal level, but it shows you the magnificence of the Lord's creations. And it says just a breakdown. So you have different kinds of cells here. You have the rod cells. So you have approximately, from what they're saying, 120 million. It's probably even more, right? Responsible for vision in low light conditions, so night vision, detecting motion in your peripheral vision. They do not perceive color and provide low acuity vision. So, being able to see at night. So you have these cone cells. So the cone cells are basically responsible for seeing high acuity, so detailed color vision, bright light. So when springtime comes around, you see all the different colors, the foliage, you see the colors on the fence, you see the people, the colors on people's clothing. Seeing all these different things, this is what the cone cell is able to actually responsible for. So even within that breakdown, you have different what's it called? You have different cells performing different duties, right? Kind of like how you have a body with different organs performing different jobs, right? So here it says, so to be able to see perfect vision, right? So you have essentially to see in perfect vision, you have to be able to have, a unity within all these different parts of the eye. So it says here, the fovea, known as to be able to see high detail, at the very center of the retina is a tiny 0.3 millimeter diameter area called the fovea centralis. It's rod-free and packed with high-density cones, allowing sharp vision, right? So this is what's responsible for. The retina, the periphery outside the fovea, the rods are heavily intermingled with cones that provide a wider yet less detailed view, right? So it says for healthy cells, for normal vision, the 6 million cones and 120 million rods must be functional, particularly in macular region. So, and then I looked up just quickly, what happens when the cells that we just read about, are not aligned. So we have these different, so the rods and the cone cells. What happens when these different cells that are not essentially working properly, right? And here it says when the cells and muscles in the eye are not aligned properly, it results in a condition called strabismus, which is known as cross or wandering eyes, where the eyes do not look at the same object simultaneously. This misalignment causes the brain to receive two different images, leading to significant physical and psychological issues. Here it says consequences of misalignment. So you have people who have lazy eye or double vision. It says loss of depth perception. So both eyes are not working together to focus on the same point, and the ability to judge distances in 3D binocular vision is lost. Right, so it says eye strain or fatigue. The muscles must work harder to try and align the eyes, leading to a chronic eye strain, headaches, fatigue, especially while reading. Right, it makes sense why the scriptures say, "Much studyiness is a weariness of the flesh." Right, because even though you have all these different cells in the eye, it's not to overstrain yourself, especially reading. You know, Even sometimes like looking at your phone at night too is not always, and I'm guilty of it. I'm not gonna say like I don't do it. You know, um, but knowing it's just really just to magnify the way that the Heavenly Father through His only begotten Son have actually made things in perfect unison, detail, right? And it's humbling as well. It's also humbling, like you know what I mean? Like imagine that, like the Lord knows the amount of hairs on your head, and it's your head. Like I don't even know that. You know what I mean? So, um, I just want to read a little bit more of this, and then I'll just, grab a couple more scripts. And it says here, what happens at the cellular/functional level. So strabismus, which is the condition of I read about, known as cross eyes or wandering eyes. Here it says is often caused by problems in the neuromuscular control of eye movement rather than the muscles themselves being weak. So it says retinal cell dysfunction in conditions like retinitis pigmentosa. It says structural damage into photoreceptor cells. So the cones and the rods, like I just read about, can lead to misalignment and the creation of noise in the visual signal. Right. So it's so technical to the point where you understand. It's just like someone had to actually put this had to have that understanding to put all these things together, right? So I just wanted to yeah, I just wanted to just bring that out, because I thought that was like what I mean, like it's just it's humbling, you know um just bear with me. Let me just grab this here. Okay, this is this is Job chapter 38 verse 33 and the AMP here, and it says, do you know the ordinances of the heavens, or can you establish their rule over the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, so that the abundance of water will cover you? Can you send forth lightnings, that you may go and say and say to you, here you are? Because these are things that are happening in the atmosphere that we don't have. We don't actually control any of these things. These phenomena just happen. They just occur. What I'm saying? Like these are ordinances in the heavens. The rain that comes down and it falls on the ground, and it's be able to, you know, water the grass, and then actually spring forth and actually even feed the animals that actually need it too. So, we don't actually have control over any of these things right here. And it says, who has put wisdom in the innermost being of man, or in the layers of clouds, or given understanding to the mind of man, or to the heavenly display? Who can count the clouds by earthly wisdom, or pour out water jars of the heavens? When the dust hardens into a mass, and the clods stick together because of the heat, can you, Job, hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions? Or when they crouch in their dens and lie in wait in their lair? Who provides rain for the raven when its young cry unto the Most High, and wander about without food, right? So the Heavenly Father, like and I think it says that in Matthew in regards to like the basically like how the flowers neither toil nor they spin, but the Heavenly Father makes sure these things are fed, and clothed, right? And it was kind of more comparison to like us, like how much more us, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like the Lord makes sure all these things are being done. The animals have the food that they need. The squirrels have the nuts that they that they need to, and then they find the food prior to the winter time. You know what I mean? Like all these different phenomena that exist and that happen on the planet Earth, the Lord's controlling all these different things, right? And it like I mentioned earlier, these things, it really really humbles you, because you realize like there's really no need to be, a person that is prideful. I was reading a story, like there was a king within and Judah. His name was Uzziah, and he was doing, essentially he was a righteous king. He reigned from about, I think he was about 16, and he reigned for about 50 years in Jerusalem. And he did very well. The Lord gave him wisdom to understand husbandry and what was it, weapons, very much into agriculture. But then eventually he got puffed up, and the Lord smote him, because he began to do something that was ordained really for the priests, right? And after that, the Lord smote him with leprosy, right? So his mind got lifted up, right? So when you read about these different phenomena that occur upon the planet, and the way the complexities of how your body's made up, it really puts you into a sense of humility, because you realize you were just things that are created, right? Even the complexities of your own body. I just found out about their specific cells, specific types of T cells or white blood cells, called memory cells, which basically it stores like a copy of diseases that you encounter. So essentially it kind of, it's kind of like, if you go, like say if you do a purchase at a store and the store gives you a receipt, the store would actually have a copy of that same receipt of that purchase that you bought. So basically the body would have a copy of a specific illness, or how do you call that, not illness per se. Well, illness, yes, but not I don't want to say fungus, but bacteria, whatever you might call it, that might cause the illness. And it saves, essentially a copy, so it knows how to fight it, in the event that it comes across it again, right? So it's equipped with all these different, mechanisms to be able to, prolong your life. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to read this here real quick. Just bear with me. This is Job 39, verse 26, and it says in the AMP, "Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars, stretching his wings toward the south as winter approaches? Is it at your command that the eagles mount up and make his nest on high in an accessible place? Or on the cliff he dwells and remains securely upon the point of the rock, an inaccessible stronghold? From there he spies out the prey. His eyes see it from far away. His young ones suck up blood where the slain are. There is he," right? So it shows you the difference in how, or in the way, I should say, these animals even operate, and even the complexity of the way these animals are specifically designed. Like, that the eagle has, I don't want to say large eyes, but fairly decent vision to be able to see, and detect little prey from a far distance and be able to swoop down and catch it. So the Lord designed all these different animals to be able to perform these specific things in order just to make sure the earth is running properly, right? The only thing that's really malfunctioning is our people, because we were created to be the upright, right? So I just wanted to bring this out real quick. I didn't really wanted to make this too long. I just thought it was very interesting in regards to the complexity of it. And that was just the human eye we spoke of, right? Like how much more the way grass grows, or how much more the way stones are made, or so. And it really kind of just humbles you, because we're just the things created, right? 'Cause scriptures say that pride is not made for men, right? So anyways, I just thought I would just bring this out. Lord's will, this was quick and just edifying. Just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.